Hello, hello, hello. I am Juanki and welcome to my world. If you have stumbled upon my channel, I am Juanki, a performer from New York City. I'm starting a new series where we're going to have some theater talk, okay? I realized that I almost have 2 decades probably in theater, in New York City theater. And I've been successful at being able to feed myself while still pursuing my dreams and aspirations and my joy, which is theater. And so I said, let me come up with a little series where we can talk about some of the things that make up the theater, some of the hurdles that I experienced and how I got over them, and in hopes that for the younger people that are coming behind me, they can grab a couple of things. Now, the things that I'll be discussing in this series are not the absolutes; it's the things that work for me. And so, yeah, so let me go ahead and start. Today's topic is headshots. Oh, by the way, there will be a moment for Q&A once I get all the information out, and then I'll check the chat, and if any questions have come up, I'll answer those to the best of my ability, and or if you are catching the replay, just leave a question in the comments, and I will get to you as soon as I can. So, with that said, the headshots, okay, the headshots. Could be very intimidating. Why do we have the headshots? So the headshots, it's pretty much our resume. It's the first thing that the casting people are going to see, that the director, that the agents, that the production people are going to see. So, whenever you come across an audition, you often see, if it's like a professional audition, you often see that, a breakdown of the characters that they're looking for, the production, what it involves, and also requesting that for you to submit your headshot and resume. I'm going to do an episode just on resume alone because, we can talk about headshots for hours. So this is just going to be focused on the headshot. So the headshot is exactly that. It's a picture of you. It's a professionally taken picture, right, at a studio or by a professional who knows what it is to create a headshot for the purposes of you auditioning and submitting, right? Because what happens is you get your headshot, right? You submit it, and the casting director or casting agent will look at it, and based on your look, right, while you're presenting on that headshot, they will call you in and set you up for an audition. And this is pretty standard in the business. You submit your headshot, and then, they typecast you, which that's what that means, typecast, and then they'll call you in. Or if it's an open call, right, it's something for you to leave behind to leave the table, leave a reminder for the table of who you were. And because, picture is 1,000 words, so it's better than 1,000 words, right? So they might be sitting in a casting call, which is an audition, several days, day after day after day, and see hundreds of people. So now they have a headshot of you, right, with your contact information, the things that you've done in the back as your resume, but now they have a headshot for you to be remembered by. So, and we will look at some of my headshots from over the years, from the very first headshot that I got to what I would consider one of my most my best headshot. And I call it my best headshot because every time I send that headshot out, I will get a call. Now, granted, it's probably because I was being very selective and submitting to the right auditions, but every time I send that headshot out, I will always get a call. So, and hopefully you'll see the progression of how, we got from point A to point Z when it comes down, at least in my journey with the headshots, right? Now, let's talk a little bit about calls, right? And then we're going to get into the style of headshots, and then we're going to look at my headshots, right? So the course, right? You get what you pay for. You definitely get what you pay for. I have had the entire gamma of headshots from I'm having a friend do it for me, right? For free, right? I'm having somebody do it for me for bargaining, right? I'm going to do some type of service for them. And they're gonna give me these headshots for free, right? I've paid the $99, which was like a standard many moons ago back in New York City, right? Where for $99 you get 150 shots or whatever one outfit change, because that's another thing, right? When you book a headshot session, they have different packages, right? So it'll be like the one package could be like 2.5 hours, right? Two changes, which is like two shirts or two looks, two different looks, right? And they'll give you 200 pics, right? Now the industry has changed greatly, and you're gonna see how the quality of film. And I can remember when we went from actual film roll, right? Film roll, that the Kodak film roll, and it was black and white, and it was developed. You had to wait for it to be developed. I remember when the business made the switch to digital. These things were coming out. These digital cameras were coming out, and now we can snap a whole bunch of pictures, and now it's on a disc, right? And they will give you the disc, and you took the disc to a printing shop, right? A headshot printing shop, and then you sat there with an editor who would then do a border, put your name on the bottom. If you needed some retouching, they will retouch some stuff out of it, and then you mass produce your headshot, right? It's gone from a lot of equipment in an actual studio with lighting and to now people doing headshots on a cell phone, on an iPhone. If you really know what you're doing, you can get good headshots in an iPhone, and I'm going to show you that. I'm going to show you one of my headshots who was taken on an iPhone. I always encourage people who are just starting out in the business to go as most professional as possible. You wanna go in and have the experience. It's part of your journey. It's part of your growth. Now, I'm not advocating for parents to pay $1,200-$1,500 for a photo session. I think that's outrageous, no matter who the photographer is, right? But I think that it's important for the young performer who's just graduating college or the conservatory program that they went to really have the experience and to really have the tools needed to go out there and properly present themselves. Because I'm going to tell you, as somebody who has been both in front of the table auditioning for people and also behind the table auditioning people, right, and receiving the headshots, professionalism at the beginning is what's going to set you apart. Before you open your mouth and you sing your first note if you're auditioning for musical theater, or you do your first line if you are doing some type of dramatic role, or you do your first joke if you're doing some type of comedy, what they're going to see is you walking in, your headshot, and are you put together? Did you consider us enough to come out here and be professional, right? Did you do the ABCs, right? You wouldn't go to a regular administrative job, excuse me, to a regular administrative job without a resume, right? You wouldn't submit a resume if you are actually submitting a resume without a cover letter, right? Especially if they're asking for a cover letter. So think of your headshot as your cover letter, and the resume will be in the back. Your experience will be in the back, all right? So I've had the gamma of I got it for free $99. I found a good deal, $99. I remember paying $250 at one point. And then you can also work with your photographer, right? You can see if they offer any discounts for students. Now the trick is you wanna. Here's a tip. Here is a Juanki tip. Right? If you are calling photographers, right, to see what their pricing is, and they give you your pricing, all right, let them give you your pricing before you ask for a discount. Don't just call and say you're wondering if there's any discounts and blah, blah. No, let them present to you what their absolute price is, and then throw in there, I just graduated, is there a discount for students? Is there a discount for blah, blah, blah? If I get three other actors together, can we go ahead and get a group discount? Because photographers, at least back in during my time, right, they either had their own studio or they will have to rent studio space, right? So if they're renting studio space, or even if they have their own studio, if they can come through and do one session, right, right? One session versus you're bringing two more people now. Okay, I'm going to give you a 10, 15% discount because now you're bringing me these people. I'm already here. The lights are already set up. Makeup and hair is probably here already. We can just bang these pictures out. And as a photographer, now I've had three clients versus just having one. So one of my tips, I would say, if you are just starting out and you have other performer friends and you all are shopping for headshots, try to get together and see if you guys can do a group discount, like one after the other, one after the other. You're bringing business to the photographer. All right, so we cover that. There used to be a time when I first started in theater, musical theater, where headshots were black and white. That is not the case anymore. I also remember when that transition was happening. And I can understand why some folks might think that that is still the norm out here. It is not the norm out here. I do understand that when you go to a Broadway show, or even if you go to their sites to see the cast list, you often see pictures in black and white. It is not because the picture was taken in black and white. It's just because once it goes into a playbill, it actually costs more money for the production to run the pictures in full color. So they would, when you open up a playbill on a Broadway show, it will be black and white. But I guarantee you 1,000% that the picture that they submitted for the audition, that the picture that's hanging backstage where they have the wall of everybody who's in the show or whatever is in color. We no longer do black and white pictures for headshots. It's very old school and not in a good way. If if I'm a casting director and you're coming in to the audition room, right, with a black and white picture, the first thing I'm going to think is this person is clueless. Okay, this person is clueless and unaware of what's the trend in the business, and these trends change all the time. I remember when there was a trend with the brick wall exposed brick wall in the back. Every headshot looked like that. I don't have one like that because I always try to do a little bit something different. Also, another thing to keep in mind when you are working with a photographer, if it's not broke, don't try to fix it. But I also encourage people to work with different photographers. They are going to bring a different take to your headshot. They are going to bring their creativity, their vision, and also their backgrounds, right? So, I have a blue wall back here right now, right? This is based on lighting, right? But the studios may have, like I said, that brick wall. And if they don't have, if every headshot looks the same, it's boring. It's kind of corny. The casting agent side is not going to grab because it's just like everybody's doing the same thing in the same town because everybody's going to the same person. So I encourage you to really look for different people, right? If you're starting out, ain't nothing wrong with going to the photography schools, right? Just because you're working with somebody who's also honing their craft doesn't mean that the outcome of the product is going to be trash. You understand what I'm saying? Doesn't mean that that initial conversation and the process going through the headshots and all that is not going to be professional. It's all about how you set your expectation, how you set the expectations, and how you keep the professionalism, right? Let's talk a little bit about fees and all that. Right now, currently, I would say the headshot sessions are landing anywhere between 300 and 800, okay? Between 300 and 800. What does that mean? Everybody has their own price and everybody has their own packages, right? They might give you a package for like $350 that includes maybe three clothes changes, right? In one session. Why do you want to change your clothes? Because you actually then walk away with 3 different headshots. And understand that every photographer has their own thing and their own way that they run their business. I also remember back in the day when there were photographers that when we were doing actual film, they would keep the negatives and they had the right to use your negatives in advertisement, right? The reason being because it really is their work. You're just simply like a model and you're buying a copy of their work. But the negatives they would keep. I also remember photographers that weren't that like that and they would let you keep the negatives, So what does that mean? So back when it was film, they will give you the roll. Sometimes you will go take your pictures and they'll just hand you the roll, and you were responsible for taking that roll to be developed and then get edited if you need it. Put your border, your name at the bottom, and mass produce. That was all on you. Okay, there are different photographers that might be an entire do the whole process. It might be a little bit more, like 800, 900, but you will walk away with boxes of headshots that you are ready to submit, because they are going to take the picture. They're going to retouch 3, right? They'll take like 500 pictures. Out of the 500 pictures, I should also say this, very often, more than not, the photographer is going to choose the photo for you. Okay? More than not, the photographer is going to choose the photo for you. And I've done all types where I let them choose it and I keep the negatives, or I will have copies of it on a disc and then I can rotate. I say let the photographer choose your headshot, because you're attached to your image, right? Your mama may be attached to your image. The photographer is going to be more objective. Okay, the photographer is going to be able to put you under a little glass, magnifying glass, and look at every single detail. Is their hair sticking out? Is their hairs coming out of their nose? Do we need to retouch that? Do we need to retouch 5 o'clock shadow? And it's their work. So they will be the ones to select the headshot and tell you, okay, these are the headshots. They'll give you all the others for you to do whatever you want, but you walk away with their vision, their idea of what the session should be, should be your outcome, right? So that's that. Let's talk a little bit about predatory situations with photographers. Obviously, if you're starting out, I encourage you to have the engagement of a loved one, family member, to be with you on headshot day. If not, a best friend. Don't go into, especially if it's a photographer that you do not know, don't go into a studio or an apartment setting with somebody to do headshots by yourself, especially if you're a female, or a male for that matter. But especially if you're a female, don't just walk into somebody's apartment. When you're booking your session, where is your studio? Oh, my studio is at my home. That right there should say a lot. Unless it's a whole room dedicated to the whole thing, that right there should say a lot, because it says that it may not be at the professional level that you're looking for. You understand what I'm saying? It may not be at the professional level that you're looking for. So when I say you get what you pay for, you get what you pay for. If you're paying $500 for a headshot session, that's going to be 2.5, 3 hours. But meet me, my offices are, and this, and it's an actual office in a building with with a concierge or something, a front desk downstairs, security. Like, it's more professional that way. You know that this is going to be a studio with proper lighting, right? And ain't nobody going to trace in, because they're a roommate and they need to get to the bathroom or anything like that. You want to be in a professional environment. You should also be mindful, like I said, of predatory situations where they want to get you by yourself, and listen to your instincts. If something doesn't seem right or feel right, chances are it's not right. And chances are, because you're going into it not feeling right, it's going to come across on film. It's going to be visible on the camera, and you're not going to be happy with the product. Okay? You're not going to be happy with the product. So interview a lot of people, and that could be as simple as, first of all, the most basic stuff is to go online and look at their portfolio. A photographer that you're trying to work with that tells you that they don't have a portfolio, run the other way. Run the other way. Because, again, that's like you go into an interview without your resume, right? They should all have websites that you can look at. You can look at the product. You can see now, for us black and brown folks, when I was looking for my headshots and stuff like that, I would always focus on if they had clients that had my features. What do I mean by that? Male clients, right? Because I can only speak from the male experience. Male clients that had long hair, like I had in some of my pictures, or what did they focus on? Is the lighting correct? Do I see their headshots in their portfolio and they all have the same background? Do I see a mix of backgrounds, which then tells me that they have different paper that they changed, right? Do they do outside things in natural light? I enjoy the ones that were in natural light outside, because, it's like a different feel. It's the city. You could give a different edge to your picture that way. But you just need to be very diligent when it comes down to your research and really looking and diving into and not rush yourself. This is the time for you to really take your time, right, and really do your research, because you're going to be stuck with the headshot unless you have an endless amount of financial support. Ideally, you're with the headshot for a while, and I've been with these headshots for a while. I will tell you once we start looking at them. I will tell you how long I lasted with them and all of that. I think it's easier for males, especially males that don't do a lot with their hair, because with females, if they decided to cut their hair, then that headshot is really not going to be worth it like that, because they want to see, they want to get what they see in the headshot, especially if you're submitting it and they get you an audition based on what they see. If you send a headshot in and you have long flowy hair, or braids down to your shoulders, and you walk into the audition and then you decided to Erica Badu it, it's a whole different person. You understand what I'm saying? And it's not just about you. It's they're looking at a show or a production where they have to coordinate everybody's look to really tie in. Ain't nothing worse than being able to get an audition, go through the initial audition process, get a call back, continue to get callbacks, dive into the material, be at your final call, call time between your call, final call for the audition, and it's between you and just maybe two other people, and you just don't get it because you just don't look the part, and that happens all the time. That happens all the time. They needed somebody who was a little taller or a little shorter, or the hair was down to here and not to there. So it's a bitter pill to swallow, but it does happen. It does happen. Okay. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to go ahead and take a look at my some of the headshots. Right. In the beginning, and I see your questions. Right. We're gonna have a Q&A shortly after. Right. This is the first headshot that I got. I believe I have to move this way for this one, and then I'll move the other side. No, this way for this one. This is my very first headshot. You ready? Y'all ain't ready. Yes. Oh my gosh. The tender age of 13. Hello, 13. This is my very first headshot. I navigated this whole headshot process on my own. My parents were very busy raising my siblings, and so I found this photographer from Backstage, which used to be a trade magazine, a trade newspaper where we get all of our auditions. And in the back, you age well. Thank you, thank you. This is me at the tender age of 13. Now. Let me give you some tips. And I'm going to critique my own headshots because I don't have an issue doing that. And it's all about learning. And you'll see how I've grown through this process, right? In first glance, you may think, okay, this is great. And, I was a kid from the projects, right? 13 years old. This was $99. $99. Okay, I took like 100 shots. They gave me maybe like 2 or 3 looks. This was in studio, right? It was black and white because back in that time we were still doing black and white. Let me give you a couple of things that just casting agents, directors pointed out to me. I did go out onto auditions with this. Didn't get a lot of work, partly too because I was very young, and I was already performing with a company. Which I was with them for 10 years. Maybe I'll do an episode on that. I was on tour for 10 years during this time. So, but I wanted to have a headshot. It was important for me to have a headshot because if there was auditions that were popping up, I wanted to submit. I submitted this for one of the Lion King on Broadway auditions. So, number one, hats. Big no-no. You do not want to have a hat, a bucket hat at that, okay? I thought I was doing it, though, in this headshot. I thought I was doing. Oh, also, ladies and gentlemen, so you see how the headshot is 8.5 by 11, and this was us being different, too, because we flipped it sideways, okay? That, too, was a big no-no. The directors and casting agents wanted to see 8.5 by 11 like a loose leaf, not landscape, not portrait, but landscape. It's a portrait of landscape. You know what I'm saying? Like a regular page. We're gonna see the other one. So that was already a no. You know, the bucket hat. Absolutely no. They want to see what your hair looks like. They want to see what your hair looks like. Also, if you see the back of my neck, my shirt, it's rising up. Okay, you need to bring it down. So one of the reasons why you may want to have a parent, and you know, a caveat on that, because if you have a stage mom that, you know, just doesn't help you relax, or you know, or a sibling that's not gonna let you, you know, I bring a best friend that's gonna be responsible for the overall look. This is just me and the photographer, and me blasting some actually Lion King music from the Broadway theater. That's another thing. Bring your music. Bring your music. A good photographer will tell you to bring your music so that you could blast it and you get into the groove and they're talking to you. Now, the bucket hat, absolute no. The shirt, rised up, absolute no. This is also a shirt that, it was a regular shirt. If you, I'm not going to zoom in, but if you were to zoom in, you will actually see, what is that? It's the white fuzz from like it being in the washing machine and stuff, because it was not a brand new shirt. Another tip that I'm going to give you, if you are a male, it's so easy for males. It's so easy for males. Always, 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 you want to have a headshot, a picture with a blank shirt, with a black Hanes shirt on. Get you a brand new one that you literally are taking out of the packaging the night before. You are steaming it with a steamer, and you're just going to put it on there, and that's it. So that there's no lint. There's no lint on it. As you can see, it's ashy. It's ashy. You see that? But this is my very first headshot at the tender age of 13, $99 for the headshot. Okay. Now let me move to the other side, because the other ones are gonna come to this side. Okay, so the following headshot, it was the same session, because they did, you know, she was just trying different things, and boom. Okay, this is a smiling one. The previous one was a serious one. This is a smiling one. I do have bracers underneath this smile right here. So, should you smile and show your braces? Sure, if that's what you're going for. If that's what you, but now you see how big this bucket hat is, right? It looks like, am I a cone hat? Like, so never, never, never wear a hat on a headshot that you like want to be able to use. If it's just like a fun picture for your website to have different looks or whatever, like a fashion thing, feel free. But this, and I never really used this one. I used the other one when I was submitting. Okay, so there you go. That was the second one from that. Okay, now let's look at my third headshot. Ooh. Oh, this is a couple of years later. I'm probably about 14 years old here. 14 years old. Hair is growing. They also used to tell us a lot back in the days, oh, you have to have a turtleneck one. One with a black turtleneck and a leather jacket. That is so 1980 something. They're not doing headshots with turtlenecks. And what is the problem with this one? Okay, so this one, ladies and gentlemen, was a friend who did it for me. This one, my friend had a digital camera and was like, okay, sure, let's do these. I went to his apartment. He threw a black sheet back there. That's a black sheet. And I had my turtleneck, and we took some shots. Then I took it to like Walgreens or something like that, and I ran them. And I was just printing them out as I needed to do my auditions, okay? I printed it out, not even in the right paper. I was printing them out in not the right paper. Now, let me tell you something. What's the problem here with this headshot? The problem is that you see that black on black? It's literally just like a levitating face. It's a levitating face. I didn't get any roles from this. This is a very dark period in the audition world. But however, remember, I was on tour already. So I was performing already, but I just wanted to keep up with the business and do the darn thing, right? So in here, aside from the black and black, the turtleneck, the levitating head, just not a good headshot. Absolutely not a good headshot. But I was 14 years old, navigating this world by myself. This was a free headshot by a close friend of mine. So beggars cannot be choosers. Let's go ahead with the next one. This is during my college years. And I single out that it was during my college years because even though I was still on tour, and actually doing other shows with a secondary company. So I was on tour, I was on that production, but I also was doing other shows in between. So my schedule was just trying to figure out where am I this week, where am I next week, performing 6 days a week with one production, and then another one-ups here and there as available, right? Bam! This is my college years, right? We are still in the black and white times. We're still in the black and white times. My clothing, literally a hoodie from Old Navy, zipped up. I remember it was a thin H&M shirt, all wrinkled, hair like that. Boom. Believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, this headshot got me a lot of stuff. It got me a lot of urban stuff. Clearly, a lot of urban stuff. Clearly. Again, this was not done in a professional setting. This was a director from one of the shows that I had done. We barter. We barter for me to do his show if he would take some headshots for me because I knew he was a photographer. And this is film. This is not digital. This is also film. He took the pictures, he gave me the roll, and I did what I needed to do to get my headshot. This did get me a lot of opportunities. It's different. It's also, again, sideways. And it was a good time. It was a good time in my life. All right. Then we start making the transition to color, okay? And showing these people all the melanation of the rainbow, right? This is when the business switched up and said, we're done with the black and white. We're done with film, with roles to be developed. We are now, people have been doing this digital thing, and we're going to, it's been tested and proven, and you can just go to a Kinko's or a Walgreens and get them printed out right there. And here we are. I had a session with a very good photographer in Midtown, very professional. I went over there with a best friend of mine. We blasted hip hop music. They had a little green room where you could get ready. For males, again, it's different. We don't really do hair and makeup like that, right? We didn't need to do makeup. But if you are a female, sometimes the photographer will have a package where they work with somebody. I remember a photographer that his wife was a makeup artist. So they would do this gig on the weekends as extra money, so she would come along and do the girl's hair and makeup. If you're doing hair and makeup from a photographer, right, or from whoever, I suggest that you meet or you discuss with your hair and makeup person well in advance of your headshot session so that maybe even do a test on the skin with the whatever it is, or if you wear makeup already on a daily and you feel more comfortable just doing it yourself, do that, because you have to remember this person doesn't really beat your face on a regular. So what they may have in their bag, it may not be suitable for you, and they may not just know your face. Just because they're a makeup artist does not mean that they're going to know how to treat your face. So if you are a female and you are going to be doing your headshots, make sure that you are either working with your own hair and makeup person, or if you're doing it through the photographer, that you have a session where you can prep. And this does not mean, come an hour before and we'll work together. No. You are the client. You are the client. You are the client. Okay? You can request that you speak to this makeup person, that you see this person's work. You are the client, no matter how little or how much you're paying. And if they're not willing to be flexible with you, if they're not willing to offer you that, then that's also a reason for you to go with somebody else. The business is saturated with people who take pictures. Okay, just because you are not going to work with this one doesn't mean that I'm never going to have headshots and I'm never going to get an audition. No, they're out there. You just have to look. They are out there. Okay, so we had a session where I had 2 different looks. It was actually 3, but out of 3, we chose 2. And this is all on the same day, and I want to show you also the range. Let me just start with the Law and Order headshot, the thuggy looking headshot. Bam, there it is. There it is. Haircut is fresh. Guys, if you're going to be doing a haircut, don't get a haircut the day before. Get a haircut 2 days before, Reason being is because sometimes your face needs to sit, and also if you're gonna be changing your look drastically, try to change it drastically months before so that you're used to the new look. You're confident because you're going to be pushing through that camera lens with that look of yours, with those eyes, right? With that, you're going to be smiling like Tyra told Tiffany and all of them. Okay, so, and you want to be as comfortable as possible. I'm a strong advocate for people to get in front of the mirror weeks in advance, if not months in advance, and practice your face, practice your look, practice giving different looks, smiling, serious, coy, intense, with your eyes. Think of different pressure points. Like, okay, I'm doing all my energy and it's gonna push right through my nose, right? Doesn't mean that I'm giving you a picture that's gonna have a Pinocchio nose, but my focus is in just relaxing everything and just letting it go through, right? The smile. Are you a teeth, ear to ear smiler, or are you more of a close mouth smiler? You know what I'm saying? So you should practice those looks on the mirror beforehand. It's only gonna help you get the most out of your money when the time comes, right? So this is what I call the Law and Order. I submitted to lots of Law and Order and lots of and I got some good work with this headshot. I definitely got some good work with this headshot. And then on the same day, right, we did the High School Musical. Yes, the High School Musical headshot. This is all on the same day. That sweater that I'm wearing, again, Old Navy or H&M zip-up sweater, a black shirt underneath, Hanes shirt underneath. See, it don't have to be that expensive because I'm not selling the clothes. I'm selling the face. It's a headshot. It's your head. Okay, it's your head. See right there? High School Musical. High School Musical. That headshot got me Angel in Rent. Okay, so it's just about going out, doing your proper research, and doing it, right? Okay, now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to show you what I consider to be my absolute best headshot. The absolute best headshot. This headshot made it into a book that was sold in Barnes and Nobles for some time. This headshot made it into, because I was working with a photographer that was putting together a book, right? And so she has seen the previous two headshots that I showed you, and she wanted to work with me. Again, another bartering situation where if you can be in my book and you're okay with me selling the book in Barnes and Nobles and be part of the gallery showing, because there was a gallery showing for it, I'll take these headshots for you for free. And she gave me a lot. She gave me like 600 pictures. Anyway, out of the 600 pictures, this has been my absolute best headshot, okay? Yes, she did amazing. Again, the Black Hanes t-shirt. Very simple, because we're selling the image. We're selling the face. This picture is absolutely 100% unretouched. It is not retouched at all. And you see the brick wall? I'm actually outside of my, on the 5th floor on the fire escape. If you see back there, that's the George Washington Bridge back there. So we're outside on natural lighting. And this headshot got me Rent twice more, because I've been in 3 productions of Rent. Twice more. This headshot got me several other theater companies. This headshot got me independent film. This headshot got me the most work. And I was using this headshot up until recently. But having short hair is pretty simple. If I had an audition that I was like a serious audition that I was like, okay, I really want to get this. It's not just me trying and just going to be there. Like, I really want to get, I would just run to the barber and be like, okay, get my hair like this again. Boom. And I'm ready to do it, right? Versus if I had long hair and then I cut it and I'm going in there with long hair. So for guys, it's very simple for guys. So this, ladies and gentlemen, has been my best headshot thus far. She did amazing. And then, remember when I was telling you about some people can do it with their iPhone? So sometime, I would say last year, the year before, I was in the process of auditioning for a particular show, and I needed to put together a headshot really, really quickly. Now, I did not have any contacts available. It was something that like I needed it by like next week. I needed it by next week. So I had an Incredible Hulk, an Incredible Hulk, and an Incredible iPhone take the following headshot. Boom. Okay, and it does deserve this. Yes, yes. And this, ladies and gentlemen, has been my current headshot. Okay, I have not updated because I am growing my hair again, so my look is gonna go back to that. This is what I'm using, and this was done through. Now, the border looks really white. It's just because I cropped it, and I by bringing it into the system, it looks like that. But it's a 1 inch border all around. It's a 1 inch border, and then not an inch up here, but it's like 3/4 or something like that. That's the standard in the business. Okay, it's 1 inch around, and then the like a third or something, or 1/4. Wherever you go to get them reproduced, they'll know that because they're gonna put it on the border, and then on the bottom you should have your name on the bottom on the bottom right corner of the headshot should be your name. So it's not really that big. It's actually an 8.5 by 11 picture. But this is my current headshot. Okay, now as we start closing out, and I'll open it up for some Q&A if you have any questions. The process of getting headshots can be a little bit cumbersome and a little bit intimidating. It's all about your preparation, right? And not rushing. Not rushing. If you see something that you feel like it's really, and also don't let a photographer pressure you into signing up with them. And it is standard for you to leave a deposit. It is standard for you to leave a deposit with that photographer because you wanna separate your slot, right? You wanna hold your slot. So they might do a basic deposit, or they might even just do 50 up front to hold your spot, and then the other 50 when you walk in that day. So that is also standard. That's pretty standard. Don't let a photographer push you or bully you into taking their services. Ask a lot of questions. You are the client. You are the client, and they are providing a service, right? You are the client, and they want you to be happy. Because if you're not happy, word of mouth goes a long way when it comes down to headshots and this business. And so a lot of it could be word of mouth. You work with somebody, you're asking other actors, other people that are in your theater course or your theater class or your conservatory program. Who did you use? Where did you go? Do you know who? And then you'll start hearing horror stories and who to stay away from. And you'll hear some people that are really, really good. And a lot of performers gatekeep too. So you just have to have your eye onto the streets. With that said, this concludes my little theater talk on headshots. Do we have any questions in the chat? Feel free to put them up down there now. I'll give you a moment to put them up while I talk a little bit more about headshots. Again, just to summarize, stay away from black and white, at least to submit. Like if you're going to be submitting, no black and whites. If you want to do it as an arts thing or but don't have your main headshot be a black and white. That is so 1985. We're not doing that anymore, right? They're also not doing film anymore. Okay, everything is digital. It's faster with digital. You walk away with a burnt CD or a thumb drive with all your pictures, or they'll retouch them for you, right? They'll retouch 10, and then they'll upload them to or email them to you, and then everybody works differently. Some photographers, and you gotta talk about this at the beginning before you sign on with them, right? Are you gonna have all of the shots from the shoot? Are they just gonna provide you with 10 shots? And those are going to be 10 shots that they're going to pick for you. They're going to pick, they're going to clean them up, and that's because it represents their work, right? They're not going to want to have their work out there, their work that's not ready, their work that, it's not as professional as they would like out there. So you might go there and take 500 pictures, and then they're just going to email you 10 or 15. Right? And that's it. That's your session, 10 or 15. But I showed you, right, how in one session you could have different looks, completely different looks. And this is why rehearsing in front of the mirror works, because you can give a different emotion for those looks. All right, let me go quickly and see if there are any questions in the chat. Let me see if there are any questions. I don't see any questions in the chat. Okay, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comment box. I will go ahead and answer them to the best of my abilities. This has been episode number 1 of Theater Talk. Headshots. We are going to be in future episodes discussing resume, discussing auditioning, how to find the auditions, what to do, how to submit to auditions once you are in the audition building, understanding that the audition works the moment you walk into the holding area. Okay, that's when the audition really truly begins. Your interaction with whoever is outside collecting headshots and collecting names. Don't treat them, don't treat them poorly, because you don't know how close they are to the director. You don't know who's a plant out there to try to see, because it's not just about your talent. It's about, are we going to work with a diva? Are we going to work with somebody who is antisocial? Are we going to, all of that goes into effect. I do have a question here. First question, Just Read My Book 1 says, how many hair looks should a female have? That's the first question. How many hair looks should a female have? It depends. It all depends on what the style is going to be, right? And what you're going for. This is what you have to really sit down and plan it, right? I would say 2 or 3, maybe something with the hair down, maybe something with the hair. The thing to think about when you do hair tied up is then you expose all this real estate, right? And then if it's in a bun, it may look certain ways. I even dealt with that when I was doing when I had long hair, because if I did a bun, like the urban bun, whatever, all this real estate is showing, and it also looks like, it may look like you don't have an actual hair, like you don't have actual hair. You know what I'm saying? So, how many? I would say 2 or 3. One something down, right? Or maybe something, the focus of the headshot should really be about your face. It should be your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your intention, the way you're grabbing, you're captivating. Can you, that's the major part. This is why it's called a headshot. And for example, for dancers, you will see that theirs will be a little further up where you could see their body, right? Ballerinas, you will actually see them do a plie or whatever it is that they do. It depends on if you're going for a dramatic role, right? This is a drama. This is not a comedy, right? What kind of intention are you going to have in your face for a dramatic, dramatic urban setting play? I'm going to submit that, right? I'm not going to submit this for Law and Order. Right? I'm not going to submit this headshot if I'm going in for Law and Order as a gang member. This is just not, it's just completely tone deaf, meaning you're not really putting 2 and 2 together. You're not going to submit that for an audition, that is. But now that I have those 2 headshots, right, I can submit for High School Musical, which I did, the tour, and I can submit for Law and Order with the other headshot. So it all depends on what you're trying to convey. I would say for your first headshot session, right, if you've never done this before, don't put so much pressure on yourself in terms of like hairstyles or whatever. Just do one good hairstyle. Don't put like accessories and blinging things and it's like up in here and like, dripping and the whole. Just very simple, very down, down, simple. Let the energy be on what you're presenting. Don't have the hair grab you, For females, for females, I actually would say it's best, honestly, if you're really asking me, if you have one session with that one hairstyle and different shirts or whatever, and then later on, maybe in 6 months or the next year, you do another one with a different hairstyle, and now you're building, right? Because if your look hasn't changed that much, we don't really change that much, as you've seen in my headshots, right? And you're able to get some real good mileage out of these pictures, okay? Let me see what the second question is. Excuse me. Second question, do you recommend theme shots? It depends on what you're doing, right? If you are looking to submit to TV roles, if you are looking to submit to plays and musicals, I would say no. I would say no. Unless you are looking to be a model, right? Then you do your, I think they do 3 or 4 shots in a what they call a composite shot, which is like 3 or different shots together in different motions, different, model stuff, right? Like, like showing the clothes, and one like for print and for runway and for that type of stuff. An active one, they used to be big on that. But if you are auditioning for a musical, right? If you're auditioning for a musical, if you're auditioning for a play, if you are submitting to TV, stuff like that, it doesn't really, no, I would say no. And also, directors don't really like that. They like, you saw how I went in with just a black shirt. They want to just see the human, right? They want to see the person. They want to see their eyes, their intention in their face, right? They don't want a costume. If you're auditioning for a particular show, I know when I was auditioning for Rent, even in the audition notice, they will say absolutely no plastic pants and no costumes. Reason being with plastic pants is because the show had a lot of like pleather, the way that the characters, the costume of the costumes of the characters is like during the punk rock era. So a lot of platforms, a lot of pleather, a lot of like plastic, vinyl. And people will show up, right, thinking that they were the character. Like, we have to understand, we're actors. This is a job, right? You don't live what you're doing on stage, off stage. You shouldn't, right? You should be able to pick it up when you go into work and you clock in, and drop it off in your dressing room before you go out into the world and deal with your family. All of that, people who come to auditions or submit headshots looking like the characters and stuff like that in costume or all of that, it's a weird line. It's a weird line. Let's see. The third question. In addition to color, do you recommend one black and white and one sepia? Again, I do not recommend a black and white headshot at all. If that's something that you want for your own portfolio, but I do not recommend ever to submit a black and white headshot to an audition. It should be like we've been looking at here. It should be a color shot, right? And then when you are reproducing it, you have the choice of doing matte, right, which is or glossy, right? Matte or glossy. That's totally up to you. If you want it matte or glossy, you do those type of things. But we are currently in a state. The state of the business is that we do not do black and white headshots. That's just a state. Now, everybody, you can do people can do whatever they want. They can, these headshots, these black and white headshots, I have them. I have a book where I just keep like my historical stuff, but I would never submit a black and white headshot. Even if they're gonna put me in a playbill in black and white, when I go for the interview, which is my audition, when I'm submitting to try to get a call, I'm not gonna submit a black and white. I don't own a black and white headshot since I stopped doing them. So, no, I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't recommend. Thank you so much, Love Blake. Let's see if there are any more questions. Okay, just read my book again. Let's see. One, makeup and no makeup shots. Females makeup. Not like nighttime makeup. Like Maggie Simpson in that episode where they shot her and the makeup was on her face. Not like, go for your age range. Go for what you're trying to get, the work that you're trying to get. Somebody who's just starting out should be very light, very simple, very gentle with the makeup. Think of the roles that you're trying to get. Think of what you can portray. What's your age range that you could play, right? If you're just starting out and you are a young person, you obviously cannot play roles of 25 to 35, right? So you're probably going to be, if you're just graduating college, you honestly are in the range of high school to freshman, So we don't know high school students. I mean, I certainly don't know high school students that have evening makeup and lashes. I know no lashes, no lipstick like that. Maybe just gloss, a little bit of base. You do want to have some base and foundation because if you're in a professional studio, the lights are going to give you shine. And the way that you get rid of shine is by powder, putting powder foundation on it. And so, because that absorbs the light and it doesn't bounce back to the camera lens. So you do want to have some base, you want to have some foundation, but you do not want to have evening lashes on. You do not want to have mascara on. You do not want to have red lipstick on, like none of those things. And perhaps maybe I'll do a part 2 where we sit down and actually peruse some headshots from other people, females, so that we can, we can compare and contrast. Let's see. Do you have any photographers you recommend in the New York City area? As a matter of fact, I do. There is one photographer that's been popping. His work has been like everywhere, and he's very, very versatile in the sense of like his studio has different paper colors back there. He works with chocolate girls. He works with non-melanated people. He works with Latinas. He works all of that. And he just launched a studio in LA too. So he's bi-coastal. He comes and he does sessions here and he flies to LA and does sessions out there. So I do know. And a lot of them are now advertising, just read my book, on Instagram. A lot of them are advertising on Instagram. I can get some names to you because I follow some of them because you just never know when you're going to need a good headshot, right? But there are a lot of people out there. I would say, though, be mindful and be aware that just like us common folk use, well, I don't, but a lot of people use the Facetune and the retouching and the whole nine. The photographers are doing the same. Okay, so sometimes you're looking at some pictures, you're like, oh my God, this person is so photoshopped. Like they're glowing. Like if that's the style, if every face you see on their page is that, then don't get upset when you come back and that's what you get. You went there nice and simple and then you came back with evening makeup on for your headshot. Okay, so look at the work, look at a bunch of different work. I'm going to say, too, just read my book. If you go to www.backstage.com, backstage.com used to be the newspaper where we will get all of our auditions and listings and classes, voice lessons, dance lessons, and also photographers. They do have an extensive directory online, which is free to use. So there is a paid subscription for it, where you can pay to have your stuff hosted up there. Like you'll have a page with all your stuff, and you can also audition right through there, through their portal. A lot of people audition that way. But if you're just looking for headshot photographers, they have a huge directory with links to these people's portfolios and all of their breakdowns and all that. So backstage.com, backstage.com. Let's just see. Thank you, Miss View. You look cute as a button, baby Juanki. Thank you, Miss View. Thank you. Let's see. Just read my book. Bring your own clothes and accessories or use what the photographer provides. Oh, no. You're going to bring your own clothes. You're going to work with your best friend, okay? You're going to be online looking at social media pictures. You're going to perhaps go to Macy's and rent some clothes, if you get my drift. Just make sure the tags are still, safe, tucked back there, not visible in the picture. And then you already know, everybody did it, okay? Everybody did it. You are not going to borrow anything from a photographer. You're going to take your time. You're going to put your clothes and your outfits together, 2 or 3 looks. You're going to put it on at home a week or 2 before. You're going to get opinions of people who can be objective as to this looks good. Remember, the headshot is just going to be from your chest up. It's a headshot. It's a actor's headshot, just from the head up. So you could just have jeans underneath, and then it's just this part, like you saw over here. It's just this part, just that part. Accessories, no accent pieces that are gonna. You don't want to have the focus be drawn away from your eyes, your nose, your mouth, and your face. So if it's just a little stub over here, then it's just a little stud over here. No, sun with the rays on your chest, or I'm gonna give you something that's always just like the black shirt is a safe choice for a guy. For a girl, a nice spaghetti strap, right? Nice spaghetti strap, pink, If it's a chocolate girl, we chocolate people got colors that make us look really good. I know, for example, black always makes me look good. Okay, in all sense of the word, it always black on my skin always looks good. So that's why you see me with black shirts or blue or dark blue. Girls, like depending on the hues, the skin tones, a spaghetti, so maybe a light brown or also a black spaghetti strap thingy, Try not to show too much boobage and all that. Think of the roles that you want to go for. If you want to go for the vixen roles, you want to spice it up a little bit, then, still keep it classy, but spice it up a little bit. I don't recommend things hanging like that are getting in the way. Just something simple. No evening lashes. No make lipstick all over. Like just gloss, a nice little gloss, and just a natural soft look. You want to talk with your eyes. You want to show them that you are a canvas, a blank canvas. You could be the vixen, just like you could be the damsel in distress. You could be the best friend in the show. You could be the comedy relief. This is when you're starting out. Later on, you're able to have different things like High School Musical versus the Law and Order. You know what I'm saying? And depending on what the audition calls for, that's what I send for. That's what I send in. Let's just see. Just going here. I want to get all of this advice that you are giving is priceless. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad that it's no Mimi Bobek. Okay. I'm excited. I'm excited to really share some of my experiences as we begin to close out. Just around the time that I wanted this to be. Theater really had an impact in my life. I have not been on stage. I have not been on stage like I would say for a couple of years now. But theater has been consistent in my life for decades. Even before I got my first like professional gig, when I was in elementary school, I was doing the school plays. I was like the lead in the school plays and all of that. And I developed a lot from there by, just the theater exercises, dealing with people, being able to be critique and understand this is not personal. It's not, even though it sounds like it's personal. Oh, you too short, or you too tall, or you do that Spanish thing. Oh, that accent is too thick. Have you considered accent reduction? All of that feedback. All of that feedback that was sounded crazy and questionable at times. You listen to it, you take and you shape and you fix whatever you feel like or others that you trust can be objective. And I was told that if I considered speech reduction, I said no, because this is the flavor that I'm bringing. This is who I am. This is what I'm bringing to the table. And my accent has never, ever, ever been an issue. As a matter of fact, I used it to my advantage. Ain't nothing I love the most than when I walked into an audition room, a holding area, and I was the only one who looked like this, sounded like this, had the hair like this, got that pep in my walk like this. When it was too, up in there, and I was the different, and I went in, I absolutely loved that. And I could see the people's faces light up because it's like, okay, something different. Okay, something different. And let me tell you, as somebody who's been on the other side of the table having to cast a production, I cast my own independent film, which was like 28 people, 28 roles. And then before that, when I was doing production for one of the theater companies, it was a constant casting of the shows that were on tour, right? There's nothing that we wanted the most that you be it. My God, can this person be it so that we can just call it and not have to be here for another 3 days looking at everything and anything from the streets of New York City that decided to show up today, or the people that we gave an audition thinking, oh, this is gonna be good, and then we realize that they're unprofessional. They just left the club and they're coming in here. They reek like alcohol. They look different. They don't look nothing like their headshot. They don't sound like their headshot. All of that. Let's just say, am I correct that you asked for this opinion? He is a good person for this advice. Oh, thank you, Ms. View. Just remember, it says, we appreciate you so much for taking the time to do this. You're very welcome. Just read my book. Is there anything else that you have any questions about? Just read my book. I would say, um, you know, uh, you pay what you get. You get what you pay for, but a lot. $1,200 doesn't mean it's gonna be the best. You still have to do your due diligence. You still have to see. I would say budget a good 500 between the actual taking of the shots, because then they're going to give you a CD or a thumb drive or email them to you, and you're going to download them, and then you're going to reproduce them. You're going to have to have somebody, if get a retouch if you need it to be retouched, but also do the border, right? And then down here is where the name is. I have it covered, but this is where your name is going to be. A lot of guys know that I had a stage name but I just felt like not showing the name. Okay, but I had a stage name. You could put your stage name there. That's the standard in the business. And so I would say budget a good 500 for your first session. One or two looks. Keep it simple in terms of the hair and the makeup. Let her go in there, have fun. Understand that she's already nervous by this whole thing. Especially if she's not used to taking pictures. It could be a very awkward, intimidating situation. I remember to this day, I remember this particular session. I was in an actual studio with all these lights, looking at me pretty much. And I was 13 years old, right? And I was in my first company at 12. But remember, I told you guys, I was in a company at 12. And I never went on for a whole year. So I was not used to actually having lights in my face like that. So we had the lights in my face that are actually hot. They weren't LEDs. So I'm hot. I'm wearing this bucket hat, right? I'm playing the music, but I'm wearing this bucket hat. It's just me and this photographer who's very close to my face with an actual film camera, real close. He's not far and he's zoomed in. He's like all up in my face. He is all up in my face. If you look at the pupils, you can actually see the lights. And it's a very, if you're not used to it, it's a very different situation if you're not used to it. Now I'm used to being on stage and lighting and, and the blackout and just hearing the people and not seeing the people. But it's, just let her go in there, do her thing. And it's a lot of it is trial and error. I wish you the best. Do your research. We need to figure out a way for me to send you the information that I have. Maybe I'll link some of the headshot folks on the description of this video. I'll do that tomorrow. Let me just see one last through for this. Let's see. Everyone's not willing to share information. Everything I know is almost 40 years ago. Perfect. Let's see. Okay. Very good, very good. This has been great. The next set that I'm going to do, the next episode I'm going to do will be on the resume, which is what's going to go in the back of your headshot. So when you come in and you are here for the role of so and so, they're going to look at your picture, they're going to look at you, they're going to flip it, and then they're going to look at what you're doing. And sometimes they're rude, and you will start doing your song and dance and they're just looking, but they're listening. Don't take it personal. They're listening. Or, I've had really good people audition me that they'll flip, and when you're ready to start, they put it down and they're looking at you, giving you all the attention. And once we're done, they might want to go look and see, who is he training with? What did he go to school for? Oh, he did this show, this director. Because it's a small network. It's a small network, especially for chocolate girls and black and brown people. Very, very small circle. I was often in productions with completely different theater companies with the same people in them. All right. I had people that I knew just in audition rooms and in the production. Never spoke to them ever again until a couple of years later, and I was in the same show with them again. So that's what it is. So we'll talk about resume down the line. I'll have some storylines. I'll talk a little bit about the training. That'll be another episode. I will do an episode on just, the hustling of being a New York City actor, and even though you're on tour for 10 years and you're doing the same thing for 10 years and you're getting paid, but it's the same thing for 10 years and you want different, you want more, and you're walking around going to school with your headshot and your resume in your book bag, because guess what? Whitney Houston said that. Whitney Houston said she was walking around with her headshot and resume in her book bag, okay, in her purse and all that. So when I heard her say that, I started doing the same, because you just never know when you may need to give somebody your headshot and your resume. With that said, thank you for being here. Please subscribe. I'm going to try to do this more often. Hopefully the next one will be next week, and we'll be talking about resumes, okay? You have tuned in to Juanki's World, okay? This is the new series, Theater Talk, which it's rolling out today. So thank you for being here. And let's see. Just remember, it says, I remember Whitney was on the cover for CUNY. With that said, good luck with the searching for headshots. Don't forget to get up there. And like Tara Banks said, smile with your eyes.